Well, I'm sorry, Ambassador Maki, I seem to have lost you there, your audio there, and we really do apologize for all of that glitch. We do hope that it will be sorted out as soon as possible. Well, we're still on to Nigeria 2015, and it's the elections for the states, Nigeria.
Was that my voice getting unlucky? Or?
No, not at all. I had mine for about 5 times, so 5 times unlucky. Yes, 4 times unlucky.
The accreditation was not properly done.
So it reminds us, Maliki reminds us of the patience of the president with the card reader. So we also must learn to be patient with that. So Ambassador Maki, I hope you do understand. We'll get back to you and we'll see how that can actually. Well, he's former Nigeria's ambassador to Chad, and of course the executive director of the Savannah Institute for Democracy and Diplomacy. So a whole lot we can draw out from you, Ambassador Maki. So we'll get back to you. So we're looking at all of these states, looking at preparations and looking at why some of them are making this particular list. Well, leaving Kaduna now very quickly, let's look at Ekiti. And Dr. Afolabi, you start off by helping us here. Why would Ekiti be here in this particular flashpoint, knowing full well that Ekiti State is not going for the governorship elections, but they are seeing the assembly elections, but they're making the list of the flashpoints?
Well, Ekiti has always been on the mind of Nigerians. If you remember in the election 2011, I think, 2007, 2010, the election that led to Governor Fayemi being the governor, there were a lot of issues in Ekiti.
They make it a duty to stay on the mind of Nigerians.
And of course, if we looked at what happened in Ekiti post 2011, after the 2013 election, where Governor Fayose became the governor of the state, there's always been problems with the House of Assembly, and now there is a contest for that position again. And if you also know, recently the House of Assembly, the majority in the House of Assembly actually left. They were on exile, and they are coming back. They came back about some few weeks ago, and presently they have petitions. There's this issue about the impeachment of the current governor. And if you also look at the last election, the results, while people felt that because the state is a stronghold for the PDP, if you look at the result of that election, it was quite close. So it was not what some political analysts would have expected in terms of the result for that state. And given what has happened between that time and now in the states, brought that state up as a state that we really need to watch out for. We have had some people have been killed in the last 1 month in the state, and there have been a lot of riots, and there have been a lot of tension between the two major political parties. So one can say that Ekiti is a state that we really need to watch out for. Yeah, even coming tomorrow.
Would you say that the tension in that state could have been avoided in terms of how both parties have handled things before these elections?
Well, that will now be at the level of speculation. The facts we're dealing with is that the tension is there. Now, why is that tension there? I had the privilege, is it privilege or misfortune, of monitoring election in Ifelodun, I hope I'm pronouncing it well, local government in Ekiti State during the rerun of Governor Fayose and
2013.
yeah. Now, there was a spectacular experience I had, one that clearly exposed the level of political consciousness and literacy of the people of Ekiti State. And what was it? Even when voters came out to cast their vote, then with the heavy presence of the military and police, because it was a rerun election, you had children all over the polling units. And each time attempts were made to tell them to go back to their homes, they said, well, we know they vote, but we want to monitor the voting patterns of our... For me, that was instructive and spoke loudly about the level of political consciousness in that state. Now, let's look at it this way. You know, the lexicon or phrase of stomach infrastructure came and dominated their recent experience. Within the rank and file of the people of Ekiti, that made sense. Because you had a governor who had the means of relating with them at that level. Eat bully with them, go to the buka around and associate and so on and so forth. But I think that the critical mass, the elites of that state, have not ceased to reel in the pain of what happened, particularly when Ekiti, the one that prides itself as the home of whatever, with professors everywhere, probably have not ceased to reel in the pain of that scandal, that the outcome of their own election was predicated on stomach infrastructure. And therefore, do we leave it at that level and insist that as a people who have come this far with this capacity and knowledge, we remain at the level of stomach infrastructure to be identified as such people? So all of these have thrown up the nature and dynamics of the context. Again, like Dr. did introduce, less than, how long has Fayose been in power? That's about a year. And you are talking already about impeachment. Now, they've reeled out 8 points. Now, as a lawyer, I will tell you that under Section 188 of the Constitution, it is the discretion of members of the House or National Assembly, as the case may be, to decide what constitutes gross misconduct, on the basis of which you can initiate that removal process.
No, I think we'll come back and explore that. We're not done yet with the Ekiti State, gentlemen and lady. So let's just quickly go on this short break. We'll return shortly on Nigeria 2015. Nigeria 2015 here in our studios here in Lagos. You also can reach us live in the UK on Sky channels 575, and that's channels 24. And for those watching us from across the world, m.channelstv.com. And to viewers on your mobile device, you know what you do. You go to the market and, your app store, download the Channels TV app and just hit on that particular one and you get to watch us live. And you can also follow us on all of our platforms, our online platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and of course YouTube. YouTube is youtube.com/channelsweb. And looking at all of these discussions today, you also can be part of them with the hashtag Nigeria 2015, and of course the email nigeria2015@channelstv.com. We also have our in-house panelists and consultants to be looking at this particular issue. Don't forget, pretty much later we'll be speaking with our correspondents from across the states, from across geopolitical zones where elections are taking place tomorrow, to tell us the feel of that particular state and city specifically. But for now, before the break, we were looking at states that in the eye of the NHRC and Nigerians that they have called flashpoints. We're still very much with Ekiti State, and
grant me the indulgence to,
expatiate more on that. Yes.
Now, cast your mind back to when Fayose emerged as the governor. You will recall that the first thing he did was to demobilize the judiciary by sacking the chief judge of that state. And thereafter proceeded against this house, which my friend referred to, the house in exile and so on and so forth. Now, the calculation was, as it were, remember when we used to do our student, they bring sole administrators as VCs of university. It is to give you that overlord posture where you can run things without checks and balances. That calculation didn't seem to, come to fruition as he anticipated it. And the first signal, and this is where I rounded off, to show that his calculations didn't quite add up as he intended it, was that even before the president conceded to victory, Mr. Fayose congratulated the president-elect. Now, for me, those were signals to show that, look, I have become fully agitated. But the more compelling reason why Ekiti has become a flashpoint is that if my calculations, the basis upon which I was taking a particular line of action, have clearly been removed, you will need to become a lot more desperate by their own calculations to stabilize that state. Otherwise, you lose entirely.